We've always had room in our hearts for film and TV, not just on Netflix, but tape and disc and theaters. And also, God forbid that they take it all away and leave us nothing to broadcast to loyal listeners. We'll binge watch every single movie, so you don't have to. What else are we here for? Coming to you every week. Listen to us while you're busy. Luckily, we forgot to grow up. Hey everybody, it's Craig.
Hey, it's Scott.
Hey, it's Andrew.
Welcome to episode number 31 of the Forgot to Grow Up podcast, also known as the spoilers episode. That's right, we're talking about Infinity War. We're breaking our own rule. We're talking about something within the first month of it coming out. It's amazing. So we're going to talk about that.
You're about
We're rule breakers.
to take the full force of the Forgot to Grow Up podcast.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
It'll kill you.
I'm going to talk about how much I hated the movie. These two guys are going to talk about how much they love the movie, and none of that's going to happen. And then we're going to talk about what we watched this week, also known as, I know it's been a while since I've said it, WWWTW. So who wants to start talking first?
I do, because I just tossed out a pretty sweet Peter Dinklage quote from the movie out that I thought Scott would pick up on, and he did not.
Awkward.
It was, you're about to take the full force of a star.
Yep.
It'll kill you. But I swapped star for the Forgot to Grow Up podcast.
No, I got it now that you mentioned that you said something. I wasn't fully focused. Yeah. My bad.
Only if I die. Yes, that's what
it means.
Kill you means.
In case it wasn't already clear, people, we are spoiling everything about this movie because
everything.
There's nothing you can talk
there's
about.
There's nothing
about
that's
this.
off limits.
Yeah, it's hard to talk about this movie at all without spoiling something because, what's not in the trailers is pretty much a spoiler in this movie almost. It gives a lot of way to talk about certain, it gives a lot of way to be able to talk about the best things about this movie without spoiling it. So that's why we're definitely spoiling it.
And we gave you 2 weeks to go see it. So
by the time this comes out, it'll be 3 weeks too. So
3, yeah. So we gave you tons of time to see it.
We gave you time, but we want to take advantage of that SEO, trending, etc.
So yeah, etc.
We're pretty much just
marketing stuff, etc.
Search engine optimization. So I liked that by the Saturday after it came out, there was already all the spoilers out there on the social medias, out there on the line, as Vince Vaughn would say in interns. But I like that it was all just stupid little memes thrown into another meme, like a little picture of something.
Yeah.
Like, here's Squidward, here's a bubble gum, here's ashes.
Out of context spoilers,
Totally out of context.
I did enjoy those ones because I'm they're not real spoilers, because if you haven't seen it,
if you've seen it, you know exactly what
so
it is.
I did enjoy those
but if you
ones.
haven't seen it,
and those were spoilers, like our titles are spoilers.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a very good equivalent.
Or if you've listened to us. Speaking of which, before we dive into this more, I just want to say, if you haven't figured out our system for names yet,
we're not going to explain it.
You should probably, we're not going to explain it. You should figure it out. Put in the work. We do.
Sometimes.
Well, Craig does, because he comes up with our names. Craig does. He listens. Spoilers. But my first thing I want to point out is it's kind of a question. It's not a total rip-on. It's a question. Okay. And I get that it's it's a joke made, but it's when Wong and Doctor Strange are talking in the Sanctum Sanctorum, just shooting the breeze about how Strange is going to go get a sandwich. And Wong's like, I have no money, bro. And then Strange is like, you got no money, bro? And I'm like, dude, you have no money, bro. You had $0 left. You spent all of your money to get to Shangri-La or whatever it was.
Well, you might have $5
in the first movie.
For a sandwich. That's probably why he's haggling with Juan. He's down to his last chump change.
But he was so condescending about it. You have no money, and I was like, dude, you spent every penny you had. Granted, it was for your hands, but still, you ain't got money no more.
He was giving him a really hard time. It could have been a better bit that they could have gone with.
And I know it was just a joke. They did it for comedic value, like most Marvel movies do, to cover up any issues of whatever. But for me, it opened up one where I was like, you don't have money either. Where did you get all this magic money from? Did
Magic,
the
that's what I was
ancient did the ancient one leave you a lot of money when she croaked? What
It's
happened?
like asking who's paying the bills for the Sanctum Sanctorum in New York, because that'd be really expensive. It's something you're not supposed
Yeah,
to
that's
think
true.
about, okay?
Even London would be
And
expensive.
Hong Kong. It's literally
Yeah.
all their sanctums are in the 3 most expensive cities in the world. It's magic. You just gotta go magic. Every answer is magic.
That's fair. Man, that's gonna nag on me. Thanks, Scott. That's gonna be something like, how? It's like Friends when you wonder how the hell they paid for Monica's giant ass apartment.
See, I'm such a diehard Friends person. I know how that worked. If anybody had watched all the episodes, they would know too. In the first season, she inherited it from her grandmother. It was rent controlled, etc., etc. That's why it was so cheap.
I don't think that's
okay.
how rent control works,
Okay.
but that's not what we're.
I don't know if that's
No.
how. It was also. A
I
fictional
think
show.
if you're a new tenant, those rules don't count to you. But up next, I liked in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I love the way that they made Drax kind of impervious to everything, and for lack of a better term, everything went over his head. Even though his reflexes were too great, he would catch it. Everything went over his head. He wasn't really dumb. He was just oblivious. Yeah. But then in the second Guardians movie, I didn't like that they straight up dumbed him down. They made him dumb. So I was like, okay, what do I expect going into Infinity War? And then Infinity War comes, and I was like, you know what? He's the perfect level of dumb in this one. Because he's a hybrid between dumb and oblivious. They somehow mashed it together, and I was like, perfect. You got me back to the Drax that I like.
Yeah, they did find a good balance with him. He's clueless now. He's kind of like clueless and just kind of stuck in his own head and thinks like he just has a very narrow view of the universe.
Yeah.
That he thinks everything he sees is the way the whole thing works, and it's like, of course I'm invisible. I can't see me.
I feel like I'm invisible right now.
Yeah.
See, I think personally, like he had the best, funny lines in the movie.
The way he was gawking over, is that the word? The way he was like drooling over Thor when they first meet. Yes. This isn't. He isn't some dude. He's a man.
You are a dude. This is a man. And then they keep talking. It's like a pirate had a baby with an angel.
It was just so great. I love that because it's just like, oh.
Especially because he's actually like more shredded.
He's bigger.
Than Hemsworth
he's technically
is
bigger, but I like
his muscles are bigger, but Hemsworth's just extremely defined and always sweaty and dirty, right in the right creases.
He's got that glistening going on.
It's like he runs around the block in 35-degree weather, gets a little bit of a glisten, rolls in some dirt, and then he goes and does his business.
That's Thor makeup.
Thor makeup.
But you kind of skipped over our introduction at the beginning to like the movie a little bit. You just hopped into
Intro.
Yeah, well, we would.
Well, I'm just going through my list. I don't have any orders.
All right.
Spoilers, everyone who's listening. I took notes the last time I saw the movie, and I lost my notebook. So I was like, okay.
He was writing it
I did.
too. I was there.
Yeah, I was straight up taking notes.
It was happening.
Did you
It
bring
happened,
your
man.
press credentials too? Like, did you have a little
We don't
card
have those
that hat
yet.
that said press on it?
Yeah.
Your
Yeah,
Clark
I did.
Kent glasses
What
and-
about it? What about it? People didn't realize that I was Andrew from Forgot to Grow Up.
No, except the shirt. I'm kidding.
Was I wearing a Forgot to Grow Up shirt? I
No.
don't think so. No, I was wearing. Actually, I think I was wearing this T-shirt. No, I
No,
definitely
it was
wasn't.
the Justice League one.
Was it? It was.
The
Yeah,
throne
it was the
one.
bat. It was the Batman with all the Justice League, and then I wore the denim shirt over it, so I could secretly be a Justice League fan at a Marvel movie.
That big a secret because your shirt was unbuttoned.
Yeah.
But
It wasn't unbuttoned. It was like here.
anyways, maybe I don't remember. This is not important to the movies.
Anyways, you take over, Scott. You take
Okay.
over since I effed up so bad.
I didn't say that. I thought
Take
you were
it,
going
just
in
do it.
order because yours seemed to be in order. I just wanted to talk about the fact that we get introduced right at the beginning to Thanos. I like that they kind of don't bother showing him like kicking Thor's ass to begin with. They just kind of jump in mid-action into that scene, and it's a pretty like badass introduction for this character. I really love how well they did the size of him. Like that was one thing I was a little hesitant about. I wasn't sure because they haven't really done that too much yet. Deadpool did it like kind of with what's this called? But this one was like so much better. The detail they put into Thanos was just really great, and I really like that opening scene. And then, like, spoilers, everyone, again, if you haven't already realized by now, but like, kill freaking Loki in the first 5 minutes.
Spoilers.
I'm gonna keep saying it though,
just
in case people, in case people made it that far. But
tune in halfway. Yeah,
the fact that they killed,
they
Loki,
go on mute and then they realize.
Yeah, the fact that they killed Loki right at the beginning, though, I was just like, oh, this is that movie. Okay, cool, we're going that way. Like that, I think set the tone right away. Like being like, you should be prepared. People are going to die, and it's not gonna be like a
that's probably
harrowing moment. It's yeah, I think so too. It's probably appeals a little more to you, Craig, because of that. Just like kind of like just cold, let it happen and do it, and it's just like, yeah, cool. Why are you dilly dallying about it? Like if you're supposed to be this powerful,
because it isn't your
kill people.
typical Sunshine and Roses Marvel movie, where
which
you sit there and you watch it.
They went away from the formula.
Stuff's pretty awful, but you know it's gonna end up okay. But this movie, it was like, I don't know.
No. It keeps
this movie went and sat in its own corner and thought about what it did.
It didn't need to think about what it did. It was like, yeah, I did it. I'd do it again.
Yeah, I did it. Yeah, I'll do it again. We're going to. In a year from now, Thanos is coming back to whoop some more ass. Yeah, but I agree. I agree, Craig, because it was just such a different tone for these movies, because it was just a really heavily villain story. Like a lot of people said that to begin with. That this is kind of Thanos' story more than anything, and that we're following him. And I thought, I just really enjoy that, how much they just stuck to their guns with that throughout the whole film, of just being like, no, we're gonna do this stuff, and we're gonna just go all the way, not kind of half-ass it. It kind of is. The whole thing is not half-ass, but like a half measure, because we all know it's a comic book movie, and laws of comic book movies are just kind of non-existent.
Comic book science.
Exactly, right? So it's like we kind of know they'll all come back eventually, but I really love that they stuck to their guns like that with it, and started off to beginning with it.
That's fair.
Yes.
Well, and they give you that last little glimmer of hope, and then Thanos is just like, nah, I got this time stone.
Yeah. Thanos is like, dude, come on, bro.
Yeah, that was pretty good too, yeah.
Do you not know what I've been through? Come on, son.
Yeah, the awareness of it. He's like, everyone just, at the same time, not all of them were aware of where that the time stone was even a thing necessarily. Does that make sense? I feel like all the Earth Avengers were a little, behind on what exactly was going on, the full extent of the story. Because they were missing some of the details, I feel.
Probably, unless they're all just secretly texting each other.
Well, that's just what I was thinking. Did Hulk tell them the whole story then? Did Hulk tell them all about all the Infinity Stones and each of the individual Infinity Stones' unique powers and stuff like that? That's what I mean. That part, I don't remember that being shown at all. So
I mean, it was probably a long flight from upstate New York, which, as we all know, is actually mountains and blizzards constantly. Going from there to Wakanda, Vision probably gave him the down low, yo, this is what Infinity Stones are. My head told me this is what's going on.
That makes
and then
sense.
they told everyone.
Okay, that kind of
maybe
works.
Because Marvel movies do have a habit of you filling in your own blanks, kind of like Star Wars used to be in between movies. Yeah,
you have to kind of just assume
where you create your own story in your head.
That's true.
Also, that was a reference to Zoolander, in case anyone was curious.
Missed it again.
Damn it. My references are off today.
Yeah.
So I have a theory about why they didn't use the Hulk for most of the movie. I feel like they just realized they had to CGI so much. They're like, you know what? Let's just let's avoid that money being spent on Hulk, and let's just use it. Put him in the Hulkbuster or something. Because we already got to do Thanos. We got to do all the Black Order. Yeah. It's just.
I don't think that's the exact reason. I think
that would be my reason. I'd be like, oh, dude, so much money. We're about to hemorrhage this. We got to spend so much up front.
The reason I disagree with that is because they just had the Hulkbuster instead, which is literally the same amount of graphics. It's just
that's fair, I guess.
Potentially, exactly. So, and also,
I don't know. They don't have to use like muscles.
they also already have like a lot of these character models already like kind of mostly created. So like a lot of it's like kind of like so like the Hulk. They've had that design for.
I guess
few
that makes
movies.
sense because
They can kind of.
Yeah.
It's not like they're not starting from scratch. Is mainly what I mean. They've got a little something to work with that they can kind of paste onto the mocap suits, and then from there they tweak it after that. So that's why we were able to see in like the trailers we saw the Hulk running around, but he wasn't in the movie at all. Well, he was for 5 seconds before he got his ass beat.
Yeah.
Again.
before he got his back broke.
Yeah, which was I just again that first scene with Thanos just really just got me into the like right into the movie. I was ready because that like the way he beats down Hulk like nothing is just great.
I don't think it was nothing.
was-
He's a tactician,
Well,
right?
he knows
Like,
how to fight.
You see it in
right?
yeah, in his fighting style. He's not brute strength. He's like, okay, well, I'm gonna punch you in the gut a couple times. Then I'm gonna smash your face off my knee.
Yeah, well, it was a combination of both though, because he did take a beating from the Hulk to start, right? Then he just got up
Yeah.
and just tactically.
Well, and then he
disarm.
power stones it to get like the arms off him, and then he just whoops.
Did he do that? I didn't miss that.
Yeah,
Okay,
lights up.
I'd missed that part
Yeah.
then. That he had to use the Power Stone to get the Hulk off to start. I'd missed that part then.
That would have been like go-to number one for me. I'd be like, oh, this guy's brute strength. You know what? I have this shiny rock.
Well, that's one thing I've seen a lot of the criticism about it. Like, why did he fight so many of these Avengers when he already had the Power Stone, like, to start the movie with? Why did he fight any of them hand to hand when he could have just squeezed his fist and blew them all up?
Because he can. That's
what
why.
I was thinking. I like the idea that this guy kind of like he has to prove to himself a little bit that he's worthy by beating them all without having to use it. Does that make sense?
I like the idea that he doesn't want to kill specific people.
That's true. Yeah,
like
that's a good way to think of it,
he's
too.
he's on his noble quest to
Yeah.
like let the
supposed to be
universe
random.
kill half of them.
That's a really good way to think of it, actually.
Whereas if he picks who he's killing, you know, he's gonna get halfway through and be like, whoa, sorry guys, I've already killed half of you. You guys just get out of my way, please.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a good point because like he does leave a lot of them alive only when they're like he only kills the ones that are like keep interfering, whereas the ones that like he kind of disarms right away and are kind of out of the picture. Like pretty much everyone who does only one try at him, he lets live, and it's everyone else who gets just like Loki neck snap. Right? Like
yeah, really. Like the only 3 that he really chooses to kill.
Yeah.
Like physically himself would be Loki. He tries to kill Stark.
Yeah.
Which even then, the argument can be made that he didn't try to kill him. He was just trying to like maim him enough.
Yeah, I think he was just more disabling him than anything. Yeah.
Yeah, to let him know, like, listen, you're done. Sit down. We're cool.
Yeah, like just.
I mean, we're not
give
cool,
your shit
but
up.
we're cool.
Yeah, like I won.
Yeah.
Thank you for trying. Like that was my favorite thing about him too. Is like, or one of my favorite things is that he was always kind of like, well, I get why you guys are trying, but you guys are wrong. I'm right.
Yeah.
Like
I'm the only one with the balls to do this
exactly,
shit.
which I kind of connected with a little bit. I'm like, I get you. I understand where you're coming from, Thanos. I see what you mean. You have a certain view, and sometimes the world doesn't agree with you, and you're just like,
Yeah.
well, I believe this anyways.
Yeah.
You'll see after, and you know.
And then Gamora is the only other one he kills. Now that I remember who the third
I was
person
gonna
was.
say, yeah. But I mean, that's the one he doesn't really want to
It's
do. and-
arguably the most
Yeah.
important one he kills.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely
two out of 3 ain't bad.
Most important of all the one deaths until the final one where everyone dies too.
Yeah.
Well, not everyone, half of everyone.
Half.
Half of everyone dies. But killing Gamora is what arguably makes him the best villain.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree because he actually went through with like being able to kill somebody. You know, like none of the other villains have actually succeeded in doing any damage really whatsoever.
Hela just wiped out the entire army of Asgard
Yeah, well, they're soldiers.
in like 4 seconds. They're soldiers. So is Gamora. She was one of his soldiers.
That's true. So I didn't feel that bad about Gamora, to be honest.
Dude,
I saw that coming. I saw
he-
it coming before the movie started. I'm like,
Yeah.
like, like I liked it. I got it. I really love that scene, especially like they bring back the Red Skull. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't what's his name, Hugo Weaving, but I like that.
Yeah.
I was kind of tricked enough to be like, is that Hugo Weaving? I don't know. And then I found out after it wasn't, but I really like that spoiler. I like that. Well, I like that not spoiler, but Easter egg. But I like that spoiler didn't get out, before the movie came out. I like that it wasn't in any trailer, wasn't hinted to on anything at all. That was one thing that I had not heard any little rumor about at all, and I really enjoyed that one. Like, especially when it happened, I was just like, oh, because I was just so confused. Because you see he starts off with just a hood on, right?
Yeah, he's got like the death.
Exactly. So that's
the Grim Reaper floating.
Exactly.
Look.
So that's what I'm thinking at first. I'm like, are they introducing a death? But then his voice kind of like sounded a little familiar. And then when that red face pops out, which his nose was bigger, that's one thing I noticed. His nose stuck out a lot more than, his not nose stuck out more. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's weird. But yeah, I just like the shock of that, the fact that it was so well kept in such a perfect kind of why not have him be the one that's there? Like, why invent some random character? Like, I like that kind of callback to the first phase of the Marvel universe, and just bringing back this kind of one of the better villains, not the best, but he's, I would say, one of the better ones amongst the top.
More of a sinister one,
exactly.
less power reliant, and more just like, I'm devoted to my cause. Which I personally I respect that in the villains. I like to see one that dedicated to its cause, who's kind of misguided.
Yeah, a little misguided, but they're
thinks that what they're doing is right,
exactly.
but they're going about it the wrong way. Like Killmonger, it's the same sort of thing with him.
And then Thanos in this one especially. Thanos just takes that to a whole nother level. Everyone else is more of a small scale level. Ultron being the next biggest scale, and wanting to blow up the planet. But I mean, Thanos is half the universe. Gotta go.
Even half.
Yeah.
I want to see a spoof, like Robot Chicken spoof or something, where there's one more person than there is even people in the universe.
It's split in half.
So that or that person's like, what happens to me? And Thanos is like, crap. He's trying to use the glove and it's not working. The gauntlet, and it's not working. He's like, what's happening? What's going on? And then he's got his own Jarvis called Thursday or something.
I like that.
Talking in his ear like, boss,
we got a problem.
Boston.
He's got a Boston accent, really?
Boss, there's one more person than necessary. And then he went Australian somehow because he can't figure out his accents. It's Thirsty Thursday. He's drunk, so just let him be, okay?
That's where my accents usually come from.
Yeah. And then bad things happen.
Yep.
So I like, another thing I liked about this, when there's a lot more likes than dislikes, I like that right from the get-go, they kind of make it seem like something tragic. Tony's going to die. Tony's going to die for sure. The way they lean on him he's constantly talking about the future for the first quarter of this film. Talking about his wedding, talking about his future with Pepper. Pepper wants him to come back, and she's petrified for him, and he kind of has that look on his face like, I might not be back in time, but I might not be back at all.
Shit, we don't do space travel.
Yeah. This is my second time going into space. I don't like this shit.
These odds aren't with me. This doesn't add up. Right? It's like lightning strike.
The force is not strong with this one. Yeah.
Not whatsoever, but...
So I like that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like that I like that they kind of almost foreshadow that it's probably going to be him, and everyone kind of assumes that it's going to be him, or one of that's what I especially liked actually about their decision at the end to who they kept and who they didn't, and the fact that they kept the original three guys, right? The original Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America all still alive. I like that because everyone thought
did any of their Other than Hawkeye, I think all the originals are still there.
Potentially,
Black
I think
Widow's
so
still
too,
there.
yeah.
Banner's still there. Yeah. But we don't know anything about Hawkeye. I mean, we could speculate.
Yeah. Well, the speculation is that his family dies, and that's what brings him back into it. But yeah, I just really like that dynamic. Or what was I saying? I lost my train of thought now.
I'm not sure, but you mentioned his family dying. That pisses me off. Not him dying. The fucking, sorry, pardon my language. Wow. The fucking house arrest thing. That pisses me off because you'd think, Thaddeus Ross being a douchebag. We all know this. Yeah. I feel like he'd be like, "Oh, aliens coming from space? Maybe we should lift their house arrest temporarily and let them go maybe do something about it.
Yeah. I feel like this movie didn't have enough time for that kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, they only ask once. They have time to ask once where they are, and it's kind of like, oh, they're out of the picture, da-da-da. And it's like, after that, they're like, okay, we don't have time to, like, really mess around with it. Because this movie's got a lot happening. Like, to me, it feels like it takes over the course of, like, a couple... It literally feels like the 3 hours it happens, right? Like... If maybe a little bit more, because you got to skip
a day. Anyways,
exactly, like a day
like
max.
Tomorrow.
Exactly, like it starts on like a Friday and was done by Saturday afternoon. He was back home to watch the sunset on Saturday evening.
Like it's. I get that so much happening, but you just the house arrest thing. I was like, give me something better. Like, tell me that they're at least tell me they're locked up in that Supermax jail in the middle of the ocean. That you showed us once, and that was it. You built it for the Avengers, and then there it sits.
Yeah, I think it showed up in S.H.I.E.L.D. once or twice, too. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. once or twice, too.
Yeah. I would hope so. Like, there's no point in having it if they don't use it for anything.
It's so true. That CGI is just wasted.
Yeah. But, yeah, so that, and the only other real negative thing that comes to mind immediately is that there's a lot of gaps that you do have to fill in yourself. Like, not just in the movie, but, like, in between movies. Like, Strange getting so powerful, like, it's to be expected. But it kind of came out of nowhere. Like, even in Thor Ragnarok, like, he went from being, like, capable, but nothing really special outside of the time stone. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh yeah, I can just fill up your mead constantly without even thinking about it, and just
I feel like a lot of what he could do, though, was a lot of more parlor tricky, because he did have a little trouble against one of Thanos' children, the one that does all the wizardy stuff, the alien wizard dude.
Oh, Ebony Maw.
Because that guy, like, even calls him, like, a children's like birthday magician.
The children must love him.
Exactly, right? Because he's messing pretty hard with Doctor Strange, so you can kind of see that he hasn't completely mastered magic. Otherwise, he would just toss that guy aside, right? And Thanos wouldn't have been able to just squeeze and break through his magic spell.
Oh yeah, he still did a lot more than Wong, though, and Wong was arguably a lot more knowledgeable than he is, especially being the librarian.
Is definitely a good point. I'll agree with that, because he should have.
Like Wong really didn't do much.
Well,
Wong should have been like
Wong goes back.
Wong would be like, dude, until I get my tuna melt, I'm not going.
Maybe that was Wong's problem. Maybe that's why Wong couldn't do more. He didn't have it. He didn't have a sandwich yet.
He's borderline diabetic. He needs his food when he needs it.
I get it. I understand. I get hyperglycemic sometimes. I don't know if that's the right word for it.
Yeah, and I assume it's for identity purposes. Why Cap grew his hair out and grew a beard, but I mean, running around in your Captain America uniform isn't good for laying low key.
Yeah.
And why Scarlett Johansson has blonde hair? Like, again, I imagine it's for keeping her identity secret, but maybe running around in your tight leather outfit is
they stick out like sore thumbs. They do stick out like sore thumbs, and changing what color the sore thumb is doesn't really change it. Like, oh, this one's black and blue. This one's purple and blue.
Yeah.
Your sore thumbs, you stick out. One of you has falcon wings on the back. You can't hide that
well,
shit.
he grew a chin strap goatee thing to kind of cover it a little bit, maybe, not really.
The Marvel facial hair club that we've discussed.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, yeah. That's true, but yeah, that I was like, okay, it's probably this. But they don't talk about it at all. Like, Thor mentions, oh, you copied my beard. But that's it. No one
else addresses it.
They were on a flight to Wakanda. They could have shown me like a 2-second snip, like, man, I need a haircut. Or, Cap saying something.
Well, one thing they kind of do allude to is the fact that it has been 2 years since Civil War, because it does kind of follow the theatrical release timelines.
Then Cap's definitely had a haircut in between Civil War. I mean,
beard.
that's something like that pisses me off. Like Civil War to Black Panther, where it's like the next day, and yet his hair has grown twice as long. That drives me crazy. You need to have continuity in your hairstyles, MCU. That's all I'm asking for.
Now that's
please.
Confusing too, because it's like, how long is it between Black Panther and Infinity War then?
So yeah. It's got to be a couple
That has
years.
to be 2 years, yeah. But is it?
It just came out.
But his hair is the same.
It's so confusing.
Has Bucky been hanging out there for 2 years?
He looks the same.
His hair's a little. I don't know if his hair's longer.
I think his beard might. I think his beard might be a little more lined
hair
up.
always looks
but
the
they
same
do
length.
have. Yeah.
It's just long. I don't get. I
Like-
don't know the difference between it. He gets a lot of.
Loki's the only one who has had legitimate layers put into his hair as it grows longer. He takes care of himself, or took care of himself.
Before he got his neck
Yeah.
snapped.
Yeah. Damn.
I do love how they showed him like squirming in like Thanos' arms. I felt that was very Loki-esque. Like,
Yeah.
it made me really like
Well, he is kind of a weasel.
That's what I mean.
right?
Like, cause that's the way I've always seen him, as like kind of a weasel-esque character, and the fact that he's just like literally trying to like weasel or like run, like squeal his way out of Thanos' like massive grip at that, like before getting his neck snap was just. That was really a good choice for that character, and it really like I felt it really helped illustrate the fact that I think that's it was an actual death and not him doing another fucking fake out, which he does all the fucking time. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
like because I feel like if it was a projection, he wouldn't project himself doing that. You know what I mean? He wouldn't project himself squirming like a little bitch. Yeah.
Yeah. Even Thor's like, well, I do think he's actually dead this
Yeah.
time. He's died before, but I think
Thor
this
had
is
a hard time in this movie. Thor goes through a lot of shit. Like
Yeah, he does.
like
all
oh
of them
yeah,
go
like
through a lot of
he's
shit, but Thor especially has had a hard time.
well, especially because Thor Ragnarok
Just
ends, and he's been through so much shit to begin with. Like literally over the course of like 3 days,
Yep, it's been
everything he knows and loves just falls to
he loses
shit.
his hammer. His whole planet gets blown
He
up.
lo-
His brother then dies.
He loses half his people. His brother dies. His dad's dead. He murdered his sister. He loses an eye.
He gets a new eye.
He meets a new friend named Tree.
I do love his
Which
nicknames
doesn't-
for everybody. Rabbit.
I don't know why he called the name Tree because he knows how to speak Groot and he knows his name is Groot.
Well, no.
He
Then,
took that shit on Asgard.
then that implies that Groot's name isn't Groot, but that his species is called Groot.
Which I don't think it is. I think that he's called Groot, and each of the species
Yeah.
says their own name, like a Pokemon. And that's how Thor can understand what they're saying.
Yeah.
Like you understand a Pokemon, they're just like Pikachu, Pikachu. He's like, I am Groot. I am Groot. And then
I am.
So like his brother
We are
brother
Groot.
would be like, I am Groot.
Oh,
You know,
shit. He evolved.
Something like that, yeah. they're all along the same like tree line, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Treeline.
That was my best attempt at it. I don't do many of them, but once in a while I get so.
See, Groot was tough for me to emotionally connect with this
Because
in
he's
this
a
movie.
dick teenager.
He's a
Because
teenager.
he's a
What
dick
do you want?
teenager.
We're not supposed to connect with him.
I don't know. Like I liked him as an adult.
No,
he
I
was
agree.
adorable as a kid, and he did something for the plot. But outside of hacking his arm off to make Stormbreaker's handle, he doesn't really do much.
which-
Which
He
is
helps at the
arguably
end.
really important.
He does help at the end too in the battle.
He's a
of Wakanda.
typical teenager. He does one thing, and the rest of it he's
And
just
expects
in the
praise
way
for it.
and super irritating.
I am
I think we have some
Groot.
bitterness towards
Whoa!
teenagers, but I understand why. I hate
Maybe.
them.
Yeah. For those of us listening who might be teenagers, I apologize for my language.
Nope. Yeah, you're too
You
young
say
for
no?
this shit.
Getting too young for this shit. But yeah, like I like that they went with Stormbreaker instead of one of like the other Hocus Pocus
Yeah.
ancient Norse
There's-
names
yeah.
for some of the other
I
weapons
agree.
that Thor's
so I can
had.
pronounce this one instead of Mjolnir.
Yeah,
Mew Mew.
Mew Mew,
Mew.
Mew Mew.
Yeah, that one.
I read a couple forums online where they had actually talked about calling it like Ultimate Mjolnir instead of like any other one of Thor's hammers. So I was like, you know what? I really hope they don't just call it Ultimate Mjolnir because I'll be so disappointed. That's hitting it on the head. But at the same time, like it would be funny because they'd be like, "What are you going to call this new hammer of yours?" You'd be like, ultimate
Yeah, I think he
Mjolnir.
could play
And
that
then-
off really funny, but I'm glad they went with a different name. Yeah.
And then Rock would have been like,
Yeah,
"You're stupid."
that's a
That's
little-
kind of hitting it on.
Isn't
the
that a
head.
little derogative?
Instead, he calls it. Yeah.
Derivative.
Instead, he calls it.
Damn
yeah.
it. Damn it. Me and my language.
That was a little derogative, Craig. That was a little derogative. But instead, they get to use Rocket being like, "It's a little much." Although I like the look of Stormbreaker. I felt like it was just too big. Like, I think I mentioned this last week. Like, Gimli holding a big axe, it looks cool. You know, he's a short, squat guy. He's got a big monster axe. But seeing a normal-sized dude carrying a big axe,
The
it just
proportion is
it
a
looks
little
weird.
off-seeming, yeah. Which is why I think they had him throwing it a lot. That's why I think he ends up like it's like whipping it a lot, so
Probably.
it doesn't look as dumb standing like him holding it next to him because it's pretty much the length of his torso almost. So it's like when you're holding it with your arm, it's either sticking out 3 feet above your head, or you're like holding it on your side or two arms. It is a very
It looks like a pickaxe, like it's like
awkward
pickaxe
looking.
like.
Kind of awkwardly like sized for that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, even the handle, like he
Yeah,
needs
that's
both
true.
arms to hold it.
That's Thor's, not Thor's fault. That's Groot's fault for just having two thicker roots.
Yeah.
Kinda,
Damn it.
Kind of reminds you
But,
of Zoolander
I just-
in the coal mines of South Jersey.
Yeah. That's another Zoolander reference. Two in one show. But one thing like I can't get out of my head now that I've mentioned Thor and it. I don't know how he flies with it. Like Mjolnir, I could justify it. Like he had to spin it and throw it, and he was just following.
Again,
you know,
magic.
he was following the hammer. It was taking him, but then him like this one, he just had to point it, and that was it. I feel like there was even a point where he threw it into. Like I may just be creating this in my head, but I feel like there was a point where he threw it into one of the ships and he followed through.
I think that did happen.
Like,
Well,
that
I
seems,
think Thor now can.
Like
I
he
think he
can't
can fly
fly
on his own
without
now.
it.
I think that's kind of a thing now, almost.
Wasn't he able to at the end of Ragnarok?
That's what I was saying. At the end of Ragnarok, he's kind of flying without any hammer at all. Like he doesn't. Well, he does
Where
big
was he
leap,
flying?
like a really big leap. That's a little
So
bit
it's like-
further.
yeah,
it's like
he's just
it's a little
jumping
bit.
really fast.
Was it really a leap? Because he smoked himself with lightning.
Well,
For
that's
all
what
we
I'm
know,
saying.
he
Maybe
blew
he's
up
using lightning
and
and
went
weather
flying
to
that
make
far.
himself fly more, as opposed to. Because that's the way I've always imagined it more than like even when he was swinging Mjolnir. I think I always felt that was more of like for show, and he kind of just.
See, I always took it as like he spins, and then throws it because he always had the handle
has to
wrapped
be-
around his wrist, right? So he would spin and throw it, and then he'd follow the
I think
hammer
it was
going
kind
that
of
way.
Like, I think it's magic to start, and comic book science is another thing we have to disclaim. Yeah, which
Comic
is
book
that
logic.
it's kind of magic, kind of science, which is I think it's a little bit of both. You know, like he's kind of like he's willing it to pull him along. Does that make sense? Like that's the magic of it. Is that
I don't know.
because he can also call
so-
it to him, right?
Maybe with Stormbreaker, but with Mjolnir, like I just can't. Like I have embraced
Yeah. No,
my
I was saying, I was just
science,
telling you what my
my
science
virtual
was
science
too. We're both
about the
justifying
throwing
comic
it.
book
Hang on a
logic.
second.
Yeah.
Hang on
Using
a second.
momentum.
Let me settle the debate
Oh, did you look it
because
up?
he hasn't.
Is this really a debate? I thought it was
alright,
just a
well, no,
conversation.
Point of view.
A debate doesn't make it a debate doesn't make it a malicious argument. A debate's just a conversation with 2 points of view. But in Ragnarok, there's the whole bit where he's talking about the hammer jacking him off. Yeah, the hammer.
Yeah.
The
Well, he
hammer's
used
pulling
the
him
hammer
off.
helped
Yeah.
him fly.
Oh,
Yes.
that's true. There is
Yeah.
that joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still,
hammer.
I still don't like. To me, I'm just saying like I get that it's his hammer pulling him. I'm saying that he is willing the hammer to do what it does. It's not.
Well,
the,
yeah,
it's,
you can't.
It's not the
throw
science
hammer and then make it go in like a circle
or in
maybe a circle,
like
and
Well,
zigzag.
control
in
where
his
it flies.
case,
That's what I'm saying.
he
Yeah, like, it's
can.
not,
Yeah.
It's not a jetpack. Well, it kind of is. It's more of a jetpack that he uses his mind for, as opposed to him
Then a
using
slingshot.
He threw it in a, but in Thor Ragnarok at the beginning when he's fighting all the weird little skeleton
Yeah.
dude things that are on fire, he throws
Yeah,
it
but that's what
in
I'm
a
saying
circle.
is that
Yeah, no, we're
it's a
saying-
combination of the two. It's a combination of him being able to control where the hammer goes, but he still is like the concept is that he's throwing it and it's pulling him.
Yeah, like it's still a really heavy hammer that like when
I
he throws
guess.
it is pulling him, but it's like it's his
Has
jet it's his
infinite
jetpack in
momentum.
a sense, yeah.
That's fair. I feel like he needs a handle on Stormbreaker. I don't like the idea of him
You
just
want him to have that wrist thing
leaning
on?
in a way. I liked the spin where he was like, okay, I got this, and then he would just leave.
Yeah.
Like I liked that look as opposed to just being like
I think
cheerio
part of,
and just
like,
leaving.
the Ragnarok storyline was that like, you know, the whole you're not the god of hammer. I think
He had
that's
to develop,
it.
yeah,
Well,
he
and
had
the
to
fact that,
develop
like,
his
now
powers.
That, his dad Odin died in that. I think he becomes a little more powerful because of that. Like that's the way I always kind of think of gods, the way they work. Your dad dies, you get some of his power after he dies. It's kind of like Highlander.
Which at the same time is kind of, yeah.
There can only
There
be
can
one.
only be one Highlander. Yeah. Which at the same time with Asgard being gone, Thor drew his powers from Asgard, not just the planet realm, but like half of Asgard is done. Shouldn't he be
Well,
like half
we,
as powerful?
We don't know if he,
Especially
we
if
don't
people
know
if
he got his
Asgard's
power
hurting.
from Asgard. Like Hela drew her power from.
No, Thor. It was either Thor who mentions it or Odin tells him like
Yeah, that's
she
what I'm
gets her
saying, she
powers
does.
from Asgard.
Oh, I don't remember
like
that
you
line.
do.
I don't remember
like
that line.
one of them references
Well,
him
that seems
getting
a
it
little
from
odd
there
then
too.
that they would say that and then him to be willing to destroy it.
This is Marvel logic, man. They say stuff and it's cool in the
Then they're
moment, and then
hypocrites
they
and do the
move on to the
opposite.
next thing. And I'm supposed to forget about
Yeah, see,
it.
they're pulling that.
but I'm
They're
not
pulling
forgetting
that,
about
that
it. I
classic
see you.
trope where they're just hanging
see
the
you.
lantern, and then they're just walking away as opposed to
Yeah.
explaining it. And it's like, no, wait, you're supposed to explain. The lantern's supposed to be explained.
That's.
Like,
I think that's why they have. I think that's why they have so many jokes covering
Those
like up
transitions.
just
Yeah,
not
I
major
agree.
flaws, but like logic where people like
wait
me
a
are like,
second.
hold
Excuse
up,
me,
this
excuse
doesn't
me,
really
Mr.
matter, but
Foggy,
just for me
Mr.
personally,
Foggy,
teacher, teacher,
Mr.
yeah.
Foggy, that continuity doesn't add up. I thought your one thing was continuity. Why does
Yeah.
why did
What's
Homecoming
happening
start
right now?
8 years before?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I just quickly
Exactly.
looked up,
Why-
does Thor get his powers from Asgard, which we just finished discussing? The answer is yes, but as
Okay.
they say several times in the movie, Asgard is not a place; it's a people.
It's a people,
But Hell is
but
dead.
what
But yeah,
his
like,
people are
that's-
A
shattered.
lot is people keep
Yeah.
getting diminished.
He can still have Asgard within himself.
I guess that's true.
As long as
He
carries,
is Asgard,
As long as
whoa.
he carries Asgard with him.
See, by
because
that
he had to
logic
watch
though,
all
then
the people
Hela
die.
is definitely
Do you
still alive.
No, because if she's dead,
yeah, because
Well,
she's
no, we don't see her
Asgard.
get
Then-
killed. That's the thing. Like,
it's
like
kind
a-
of implied.
well, it's implied because he destroys Asgard, but we don't. But we've seen Thor just
But
hanging
isn't
out in
she-
space.
Isn't she there?
Yeah, but we've seen Thor like survive a big blow up. That happens at
That's
the beginning
fair.
of this film we're talking about.
That's true.
Well, yeah.
That's
He gets
true.
blown up by an Infinity Stone, in fact, in this film, and survives. So
Boom.
Hela could have potentially survived that. She's the goddess of death too, which to me just you can't. Can you kill goddess of death? That logic doesn't seem too clear. But
I don't know. Maybe if you get stabbed by a giant sword.
well, if that,
That
was
is on
that's what I'm saying, that's
fire.
did that sword ever hit her in particular? Like that.
It looked like
That's what I'm saying.
it didn't. It looked like he was like, I'm just gonna stab the ground, blow the planet up, and then I'm gonna go back to my place and
I'm
take a nap.
curious
if you
how
wanna
he
come
got-
join
we're
We're
all
all
me.
gonna
Out
get on
of-
this giant ship.
Where did he go after he blew up Asgard? Is what I want
Yep.
to know. But that's not. We'll talk about that during our Thor Ragnarok episode.
That's true. That's true. Because the only reason he got there was because of the skull bringing him back to life when they
Yep.
dipped it into the flame. The continuity,
Don't
man.
look too deep into it.
I just want to know if that big giant devil dude is just.
Don't
hanging
watch
out in
these movies
space.
and pay
Is he floating
attention.
around where Asgard used to be, just like with his yeah.
Surtur,
he have
son
his-
of a
Does he have
bitch,
his, like,
you're
he's got his thumb
alive.
out waiting for somebody to fly by, waiting for the Guardians to come rescue his ass.
Does he
too?
have his towel?
Yeah.
Is the better question.
That's true. Who knows? Maybe he lost it. It's a purse. Anyways, so
we got
back
way
onto
off
Infinity
track,
War,
ish.
considering we just talked
Yeah.
about Ragnarok so much. What next am I going to bring up? I'm going to say, I think it's kind of funny that Vision has the ability to make himself look like anyone, and I know it's Paul Bettany, so he's got to look like Paul Bettany. I just think it's funny that he picked a guy with a receding hairline with slightly thin hair.
That is true.
As his
like,
go-to
if you can look like
looking guy.
anybody,
Like, that's the most
aren't we all
normal
thinking,
looking
like,
guy. Yeah.
like Hugh Jackman, isn't that the thing? Or like Brad Pitt?
Yeah. Like if Paul Bettany kind of looks like if Craig didn't have his hair parted like that and just wore it kind of spiky. Craig would look like Paul Bettany. He's got the same chiseled jawline.
Sound like Paul Bettany though. Yeah,
Not the same voice. Not the same voice. Sorry, Craig. I love you, but your voice is not nearly as good as Paul Bettany.
We'll give it some time. He's a little bit older.
Give it some time. Come up with some type of accent.
But yeah, I know. Like, I get your I like what you're saying. Like, it is kind of a funny thought. Like
it's funny. Like it doesn't matter in the slightest. I just think it's funny that he's like, I gotta blend in. This is my most normal looking guy I can come up with.
Exactly. It's very true. He does. Paul Bettany is a very guy-looking guy too. Like, not a bad-looking guy, but he's not the most like handsome man. Like, like
handsome.
He's just like, yeah, that's a guy. Like, I get it.
He's better looking than Michael Rooker.
Nobody
that's
knows
for
what Michael Rooker looks like.
I don't know what his eyes look like.
Not even his mother.
No one
Not
has
even
ever
his mother.
seen Michael Rooker's eyes and face all at the same time. Like, no one's ever seen the entire thing, okay? It's either he's got sunglasses on or he's blue with a red thing on his head and
contacts in.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No one knows.
And a weird little bowler
no
cap
one knows
type
what
thing.
Michael Rooker looks like.
Nobody knows. Very true. I would have liked to see him in this movie, even though he's dead. Just see him like float through space
Force
slowly. Yeah, boy. I was just thinking like his dead body, just like
Thanos' ship's windscrew.
I'm pretty sure they burn him, but like I just see it. Watch them just give him like a like a typical pirate where they just throw, or sailor where they just throw it into the ocean. Just see his corpse just go floating by in space. And then Surtur like, am I getting picked up? No, damn it.
Hey man, you need any help? Oh,
damn it!
No, you're not responding. You're dead? Okay, gotcha. Sorry.
I shouldn't have killed this chick. She could have just hung out with me.
Carpooled. We could have carpooled.
Gotten out of here together. Yeah. But that's getting a little bit off topic. Paul Bettany. I'm going to talk about his girlfriend now and her way of blending in. And I don't know if it's her way of blending in, but it's something that it rots me to the core. What is up with her accent?
Are we getting on this again? I feel like we've talked about this before.
Yes, I need to bring it up again because the world needs to know what is up with her accent. She had a very phony but thick accent in Age of Ultron. Civil War comes around, and about like 2/3 of the time she uses the accent. And now we're here, and they're in Scotland, and they're hanging out. And she's not even she's using an American accent in Scotland. That's not blending in the slightest. That doesn't help. Especially when her boyfriend is like, he's just coming to visit. They go to the hotel and then he leaves and goes back.
There. Like she wasn't hiding out there. They both met there.
Like,
is what they implied.
Oh, it just why does she have an American accent
in real life? And you can only go so many movies pretending or getting insulted about your half iffy accent because, like you said, it's only half in the last one. So now she's fine. I don't have one.
I look at it as the same. I look at it the same way as that Charlie Hunnam is British, but uses the American accent in everything. Like even in King Arthur, he uses the American accent, and I'm like, dude, you're supposed to be in a place you come from. You're from there. You have the accent. Why aren't you using it in the movie that takes place where you come from? Like that sort of thing. That takes me out of movies too.
Distract me as much.
Hair and accent.
Like her accent. Every time she comes up on screen, I'm like, come on, like just fake it till you make it, sister. Like it doesn't even have to be good.
Yeah.
Like just give me something like this.
If she faked it and it was awful, then we'd be talking about that instead.
Yeah, exactly. Then we've talked.
I'd rather be talking about that because then we're talking about how bad, like how she's not great as a voice actor, instead of why does she
Well, we
not
can
have the
justify why
accent?
her
Or why does it come out once in a blue
she's
moon?
Been hanging out with a bunch of Americans for the last 4 years. She's lost her accent.
But she hasn't. She's been away from them for a
She's
long
hanging out with
time.
Cap in that.
And the only one she seems
She's on the run with Cap in
it's
Black
been
Widow.
a-
That's why Black Widow says
it's
no.
been a
Black
while.
Widow's like you're supposed to keep in touch. Because
keep in touch. That's not them hanging out.
They're on the run together.
That's text
No,
message.
no.
I keep in touch. I
She
keep in
says
touch
keep
with
in
my
touch
brother
when you're,
sometimes.
like off hanging out with Vision. That's what they're implying. Like that's what at least I picked up from her conversation with Black Widow.
I didn't take it
Get
that
back
way
to
because she
Infinity
said
War.
like you're supposed to stay in. I took it as you're supposed to keep in touch with us every 2 weeks. Let us know, like let us know you're
But
okay.
Scarlet
Like that's
Witch
how
at one
I
point
took
said
it.
That, like she
Like-
does say at one point that like I can't remember exact line, but she says to like Vision that like something that implies that they had both met there and that they weren't staying there. Like she wasn't staying in Scotland and that she was.
I guess
she had met him there.
I don't know. Like
Because you can't say
I
when you're
guess,
on the
yeah.
run, you can't.
Which is a weird
stay in
place
one
to
You can't
pick
just
to-
hang out in Scotland, wait with your boyfriend coming back and forth.
meet up in Wakanda.
Well,
They already
Wakanda's
got the
still kinda
hookups
secret,
there.
apparently, because they still got the cloak up. Which, with that
That's
cloak
true.
up,
Even though they've opened to the
apparently
rest of the world.
Space aliens could see through the cloak. Apparently, was the shield on the inside or the outside of the cloak? Is the other question. That's a little confusing. I don't know how that cloak works.
I don't know. Well, they even made comments about how they opened Wakanda to the world, but it's not open to the world. I guess they just wanted a
haven't gotten to that
Starbucks there.
yet.
That's it.
They're working on
I
it.
guess they haven't built it. They got high
Stuff
tech
keeps getting blown
ghosty
up in the
flying
last couple of
machines,
years. They're
but
probably still upset about it. They're just like, what's this
That's
T'Challa
true.
guy? He's just picking fights
That's
with
true.
everybody.
well, they rebuilt Shuri's lab.
Yeah,
They rebuilt Shuri's lab.
Now.
Okay, so moving on to that was my number one piss off in that movie was the
course it
accent. Next piss off, and I'm not going to dwell on it. Just the bad green screen they used right at the end when they were doing the Hulkbuster, where you can see Mark Ruffalo kind of popping out of it. Like just that I noticed it the first time, and I was like, every time I watch
That
this
is a
movie now,
tough
I'm just gonna
effect,
look at
though,
that
to do
spot.
in their defense, because he's this big guy. Like,
Yeah.
because the way they film it is him on a pair of stilts, right, and then like the dots all
Yeah.
around him, and then they have to they have to
Yeah,
stretch
and then they
him
fill
a
it
little
in.
bit, but not stretch his head. So I think that's where you get the distorted little bit.
I just wanted on record that part right there is at least the same, if not worse, than the Superman mustache. I just want to throw that out there and have it on recording.
Yeah, I would
that
say
it's
it's pretty
out
close
there.
to that same one. It reminded me of like.
It's
It
just
reminded
not
me of
as in
early
your
Iron
face.
Man ones, like a couple of the early Iron Man ones, where it looks like really, like his head looks like a P on top of it, like really weird. And like you
That's
can really
fair,
tell
yeah.
that it's like CGI'd on. Like it's hard to blend that like CGI to normal look though. They should have left the helmet
Yeah.
on him at the end there. That just would have been the smart thing to do.
Yeah.
Or had him get.
Yeah. Instead of like having the weird
They
digital
should have had him
around
like
his
climbing
face.
out of his out of the Hulk armor as that was happening. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, like have it pop up
Yeah,
and
like,
have him like
exactly.
hop
Or, like-
down or something, or
That's what I
have
was
the suit
thinking,
just like
it's on
fall
the ground
apart.
and he's kind of crawling out because it's beaten up, right? Like,
Because it's he was stuck in the rocks. How the hell did he get out of the rocks? And Rhodey's suit was crushed when he Thanos
I know.
uses
There's a lot of stuff that happens on that
one of the
last thing, but
stones,
they all just
and he
recover
crushes
from.
him. And then he stands up at the end and he's walking and he's totally chill. He's like, "Sam, where'd you go?" And I'm like, "Dude,
Cap
you were
got
literally
knocked
just
the
like
fuck out, but
you
was
were
up like 5 seconds later.
Yeah,
like,
you were
got back
cobra
up.
crushed. No bruises.
And he remembers everything. And I'm like, motherfucker, if you got hit in the head that hard,
Yeah.
you ain't remembering shit.
that
Like,
hard.
That is a big fist.
Black Widow stands up and she's not even nearly as dirty as she would be from getting wrapped up in trees and
Yeah,
dirt
they all
and
surprisingly
rocks.
get very little like blood or sweat
Yeah.
or anything on them throughout the course of an entire battle where they kill hundreds of alien creatures, which I enjoyed. It was still fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it was still pretty sweet. What else? I was glad that they didn't over Wakanda me after all the hype and all the pump up that went into Black Panther truthfully, I was a little not sick, but I was like on the cusp of being like, I just don't want to have to deal with them doing half the movie just talking about Wakanda and how great it is. Just show me it, just get there and just move on. And I was glad that it wasn't like
it wasn't like a big
most
plot
of the
point,
movie
I
being
agree. Like,
Wakanda.
I know what you mean. Like it has
Yeah.
been very hyped up lately because of this movie, but that's also because it's the most recent one to come out and has significance to other.
Yeah. I was just
I get
sick
your-
of hearing about it, like because it was just so overplayed. But I will say we had our argument before about the Soul Stone and how like it may have been inside the meteorite. I was very glad the direction
I
they took
kind of like the
for
direction they went.
It was because I said I wanted it to be something big, something awesome, and they
I would've
delivered.
liked
Thank
some,
you.
Like some more of a connection to that, just a little bit more, like some kind of like it had been an Easter egg before. Like, does that make sense? Like we've seen that name of that planet somewhere before, and I missed that. That would make me a little happier.
Not like nowhere where
Exactly.
we
Nowhere's
have
really
seen
obvious,
it before.
but like the cool things of like this back to Thor Ragnarok for a second, but at the beginning place where he's getting that what's his name, the fire demon things, where he fights that at the beginning. Yeah, so that wherever he's hanging out there, that realm was like referred to in the first Thor film. You know what I mean? But it was only referred to by name one time, and just in passing, like, oh, there's the 7 realms, and then kind of the list of the 7 realms is there, right? So it's like, I would like, because maybe it is a thing that I've just missed, but I would have liked a little bit more of a connection to the planet that the Soul Stone is hiding on. But I do agree that I really like the way they went with that. I like that it wasn't just something so obvious like being in Wakanda or being with Heimdall or being inside Tony Stark's chest, which is the dumb one. Still,
that one was
like, I'm
fucking
glad
ridiculous.
That they did go that dumb route.
I'd read some that it was Cap, like it was inside Cap, and that the chemical combination of his blood and the super soldier serum that created it, because that's why he's got so much soul and how he's not willing to give up. And I was like, I'm so sick of Captain America's self-righteous attitude.
Dumb idea too, though, because
I'm
it's
so
like
done with it.
if you watch the Guardians of the Galaxy explanation for the Infinity Stones, it says it's been there since they were created.
They create them.
Big Bang.
Yeah,
They're
Big Bang.
older
Boom.
than everything, which means they can't be in any character inside of like. They can't they couldn't have been born with it or created it. It had to exist already, and then to have come and possessed it of it. So, like that's why Heimdall would have worked. But I do like this direction they went. It gave us a chance to have Red Skull pop back up as a Grim Reaper type ghost. How do you think he ended up there? That was one thing.
Oh yeah.
That I've heard a few not rumors, but like talk about that. I'm just like, I don't know if they've got it right. The thought about it, like other people.
I don't know. Like at the end of the Captain America movie, like
which he gets sucked up by the space stone.
So like it does kind of make sense that he just gets spit out somewhere. Like you can't open the door and then he doesn't end up anywhere. He has to end up somewhere. But I want to know how the hell he learned how to float, and then where the hell he got the cloak from.
How does he know about the Soul Stone?
Do you think?
Which is why I think when he got transported.
So someone probably taught him, like it was probably the Watchers or whatever.
That he was taught by the person before, but I think potentially was that he kind of died when the Soul Stone, so when the Tesseract zaps him somewhere, it's not like it's connected to a certain spot. So I like to think of it as, because all the Soul Stones or all the Infinity Stones are kind of connected, that he kind of got sent into a kind of nexus where exactly perfect word for limbo, and thus. He got because you can't keep a soul in limbo. The Soul Stone drew in his soul from that way, and then he had to be the Soul Stone's keeper.
Or maybe he thought in order to get the Soul Stone, to get back to Earth, maybe he had to sacrifice himself. He put 2 and 2 together to figure it out, and he killed himself. But because he killed himself, he wasn't worthy. Because there was no physical body to give it to.
I like that too.
So he became just an entity, and that explains the floating. It doesn't explain the Grim Reaper cloak, but it might explain the floating.
The Reaper cloak was just for effect.
Yeah, but if you're on an alien planet with nothing else on it, you had to get the cloak from somewhere.
So, yeah. maybe he went to like he drove by Surtur. He was in his space car. He drove by Surtur, and then he drove by Yondu, and he's like, "Yo, Yondu's kind of wrapped in a blanket right now. Let's take that." And then Surtur's like, "Hey, nice blanket," and accidentally burnt the cloak a little bit. That's why it looks all ragged.
I like our theory best. I think.
Yes.
I think that it's the correct one.
That's what I'm.
Yes,
doing.
I stand by it.
Otherwise,
That's-
yeah. I'm not,
Can go sit on a chair in a corner.
Like suggesting that we're wrong.
So I just got. Oh yeah, this is canon from now on.
You're
This is
welcome,
forgot to grow up canon. So
Yeah.
I just got a few things left. I'll finish them because we're already an hour into this. Stark has never been sassier than he has been in this movie, and I like that.
Yeah, he's
Because
just
as
sick of
like
shit.
as yeah. Yeah, he's like I'm retired. I'm 95% retired.
But I have to help with this because I'm the one who
Yeah.
he is the one with the most experience technically, right? Like
Yeah. Well, Cap even calls him their best defender, and I was like,
yeah, that's
yes,
a good point.
you admitted it. Because I was on Team Stark. I knew there was no way he was going to win at the end of Civil War, but
Yeah.
because it wasn't even his movie. But I'm a big fan of Tony Stark over Cap, so I was like, yeah. You admitted
and I like that
shit.
too. Like I like that he's not like taking any shit from Doctor Strange or from Star-Lord.
Yo, Doctor Strange was a
He was a
dick
little bit
in
like
this
an
movie.
over,
He
did step it over,
like,
but I feel like
over
that's
the
part of his
top.
character too, though. Like in that, like because he doesn't like.
I guess
we kind of
so,
got
yeah.
that feeling from him at the beginning of the Doctor Strange film, but we see
Well,
him
'cause
grow
he's
a little bit.
He's a hotshot doctor.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
He loses
Yeah.
his hands.
Yeah.
But now he's back to being able to do something. So
Exactly,
he's
he's a
not gonna be
hot
any
shot
better.
again. Yeah, exactly.
You got a whole. I see. Part of me
Well, I
hoped he was
feel
going to be
I
humble.
mean,
I feel like he's
He
humble
is
with the ones he
more
loves. Yeah,
But he's
He probably had the same as like Avengers or
Yeah.
Age of Ultron Tony, where he's like, remember when I carried a nuclear bomb up into space?
yeah.
And he was like, no, you never talked about that. That's probably like that's probably what he did, where he's like, hey, remember that time I went into a permanent nexus where it was a time loop where I just kept
Yeah.
dying 1,000 times, and then eventually he's like,
Yeah, I
dude,
think-
just
I
get
think
out
it's
of
a combination
here.
of that and
God.
him thinking that because he knows about magic and about like these other threats to Earth besides just the like alien threats, the
Yeah.
more mystical magic threats. I think that gives him that also
Yeah.
the additional arrogance. He's like, because he kind of says that to Iron Man at one point. He's like, I protect the whole Earth,
Yeah.
dick.
He's
or
like, I've
something
been-
like that. Or your reality,
Yeah.
dick, or something like that.
I predict
exactly.
reality.
So, like,
that's
where
what it
I
was.
think a little bit of the arrogance comes from. Douchebag.
Douchebag,
not
it was
dick.
douchebag.
Yeah, douchebag.
Douchebag.
I do like the way he
I
delivered
predict reality,
douchebag. It was a
douchebag.
very good.
Yeah.
It was just a good douchebag delivery. Just yep. Like, but I did like their dynamic and the fact that they kind of eventually started to get on the same page. It's just they both had different approaches.
Yeah.
And they just had to get on the same page eventually. But I really like the way they played off each other. Then there's Spidey hanging out with them as well, just kind of third wheel in it.
Yep.
which I was just thinking, like, Tony tried to save his ass, which didn't work at
Yeah.
all. He still died.
He did. Well, he even
Yeah,
tells him like, "I didn't want you to be here.
You did
There's
not think
no
this
way you
through."
thought this through." Well, I thought about shooting webs and it happened. It's
Which-
kind of your fault. You made the
I
suit
heard,
ridiculously
like, I didn't hear
intuitive.
that line completely the first time I saw it, but when we saw it the second time,
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, that's funny. You didn't mean to.
Robert Downey Jr. is great
Yes,
with his
he's
facial
very-
expressions, like the.
You did
You
not
did
just tell
not
me that,
just say
no.
that.
And then, like,
Come on, son.
When Star-Lord says something dumb to him, he's just like, Are you
Yeah.
effing serious right now? Like, I don't know if you're fucking with me or if you're just fucked.
You know the half of me that's dumb. That's 100% of what you are.
Yeah.
Your math is just blowing my mind.
I did feel Star-Lord Peter Quill's character was a little bit, like, not out of character, but he did seem a little bit more extreme a version of himself.
He was. I found that in the first two, he had a little bit of like built-in
Yeah.
leadership into his character. Like the first Guardians of the Galaxy, it was kind of, it was reluctant, but he had to. He felt like he needed to do the right thing. In the second one, he's like, okay, I'm team captain now. This is my ship. This is what we're gonna do. This is my dad. This is my problem. Let's do this. And by this one, I kind of felt like he was like, well, I'm the unquestioned leader. We do what I say no matter what, especially near the end where he's like, well, I have other people who I haven't been around, a la Tony, Strange, and Spider-Man. So he's like, well, let's get these guys underneath me. This is my plan, just so everyone knows.
Like similar to Doctor Strange in the fact that they've all had their own individual adventures where they've saved the galaxy or the planet or whatever. So it's like,
and no one knows
exactly
about the other ones.
He doesn't know that they've saved the galaxy twice, and they don't know that they're actually Earth saviors, like the Earth's Avengers, right? So it's like, I get that dynamic. I just felt that his character was like, A, slightly more dumb, and B, slightly more emotional, even more than ever, which I kind of got, like, he keeps losing more and more people, but I still felt like, I don't know if you had pointed this out to me or something I had heard, but like, the scene where he fucks up, right? Like, he's the reason that Thanos, like, they don't beat Thanos before Thanos does everything, right? Because he gets emotional and fucks up. And, you could argue maybe that's what Strange wanted. There's a whole line of thought you could go through there. But my main thing...
Is this the pistol whip thing? Where he pistol whips him instead of shooting him in the mouth? Because that's something where I was like, yeah. But then I think it was you who said, yeah, but he was just trying to, like, beat his ass and, like, take out his anger as opposed to, like, just ending his problem right then and there.
That little thing I just thought was... I didn't love. I felt that was a little stupid, but I also...
Yeah. You have the gun, you put it in your mouth. You had the, the bombs. You had the grenades hanging from your nutsack earlier in the movie. Stick it in the mouth.
I just felt his character was a little just not 100% accurate to the way it's been portrayed before. I felt he changed a few things, but I do like that the whole team calls him fat a little bit. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, and they're like, you're one sandwich away from being fat.
And he's just like, okay, I'm going to get a Bowflex, which made me want to, like, look up.
I'm going to commit.
Was Bowflex out before he got taken off Earth or not? Like, I'm not sure. Like, I remember growing up seeing Bowflex commercials.
I'm Googling this right now.
In, what, the 80s? 70s, 80s? And so, like, how long has Bowflex been around? I'm not sure. But I did like that joke.
That sounds like a thing that needs
He still thinks that a Zune... Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. He does think that the Zune is the best musical playing device that's out there.
I would argue for it.
Okay, design 1986. Bowflex came out in 1986.
I think that's either the year before he left in the movies or like 3 years after.
But how would he know? Because Bowflex definitely came a long way. Like, it wouldn't have been the optimal home gym in 1986,
Maybe it was because
right?
it was sponsored by, I believe, Chuck Norris. No, not Bowflex. He had Total Gym. He was Total Gym. Yeah, Chuck Norris was Total Gym.
Total Gym, yeah.
Bowflex. I'm feeling like Bowflex probably just had a celebrity endorsement with their first infomercial. Maybe that's where it exploded from, or maybe they just went Bowflex because that is the most like common like one machine kind of cliche infomercial. You know what I mean? Like fitness device. Maybe that's what they went in for.
Yeah.
They didn't look it up like we decided to.
Okay. I'm looking up when he got kidnapped. Because I don't think any of this
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. I'm pretty sure he would have been one at the time then.
Okay. He got kidnapped 1988.
Okay.
So he would have been like, what,
No,
6?
I think like 10 when he got kidnapped, if I remember correctly.
Okay, so he would have been 8
So it's
when the
possible
Bowflex existed. Man, this guy's old as shit. Like, he is a lot older as a character than he should be.
We'll blame that on, space travel, time, relativity, etc.
I guess
Math.
so.
Comic book logic. Yeah, I like
Comic
that. Comic book science
logic.
again. Always bring it back to that. What else? Did you have anything else on your list of gripes or stuff?
What was the Kevin Bacon movie you wanted to talk about?
Footloose. Footloose.
Was it Footloose?
Are you looking at when Footloose came out? Well, I feel like that one's accurate because that's a pretty big touch point in...
84. 84. Okay, so he would have been 4 years old.
Yeah, but it
when
would have been out
Footloose
for a
came
couple of years before he left Earth too. Because you said 88, he got kidnapped, right?
Yeah, so
But
I'm
you
saying he
also
was
had 4
4.
years from it coming out
Like
to turning to when he left to watch it too. So he could have been 5 or 6 or 7. You know what I'm saying? Like just you said the movie
Wait,
came
what?
out in 84, right? So he had 4 years
Yeah.
from 84 till 88 to watch that he was still
That's
on Earth
true,
for
yeah, that's
before he
true.
left.
He loved
Well,
that
it could've been the
movie
first
that
movie I ever
much. God
watched.
damn.
We all have those weird connections.
That's true. That's true. We did talk about the kangaroos.
Warriors of
Not
Virtue.
Mr. Nice. It was Warriors of
Exactly.
Virtue.
It's his Warriors of Virtue.
That's true.
Except worse, according to.
Okay, so I'm gonna toss out 3 more things, and that's the end of my list. I don't know if you guys have any of your lists. I feel like this whole episode's been my
I
list.
think we've covered almost everything. Though,
I like
so
that both.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Just keep going.
That's true. I like that both Thanos and Tony Stark refer to the sorcerers as wizards. It's like, that guy's a wizard, go get him, and then Thanos
I like
calls
that
him a
too.
wizard
Like,
later.
Oh, there's an alien wizard and trying to steal a necklace from a wizard. I was
Yeah.
like, wizards, because I hate the word. I don't hate the word sorcerer. It just seems so like
Sorcerer.
snobby and just like
Douchey.
Like really,
Yeah.
you're gonna call it a sorcerer? Oh, you're a sorcerer, are you? Like, come on, man, use magic. You're a wizard.
I like that at when Banner's trying to
love
turn into
that
Hulk
part,
and it's
yeah.
not working, and Tony's like, glad to have you back.
He's-
Let's do
It's
this.
just like,
Come on, man. I believe
give
in
me a
you.
second.
Yeah,
That's how I feel sometimes when I'm trying to go to the washroom at a theater.
we're kind yeah. We're kind of having a thing right now. Dude, you're embarrassing me in front of the wizards.
I really loved Mark Ruffalo's performance in this movie, like playing Bruce Banner and that weird dynamic between him and the Hulk.
It was the first time really that
The
he
whole
was
time,
the whole
yeah, 'cause-
that whole
And
character.
like,
right?
I love that little dynamic. Every time he's like, "Fine, I'll do it myself," and he's like, "You're such a dick, Hulk." Like little things like that. I just love those little comments. Him yelling at himself.
Although I'm not sure because he was locked inside Hulk for 2 years, and like he did acknowledge that he didn't know that it was 2 years, but he kind of understood what was going on. How did he know exactly about everything to do with Thanos? Like, when he's the Hulk, does the Hulk have like control of like what Banner gets to see inside of him
That's a good
and
point.
whatnot?
Well, maybe he was Banner when Thanos attacked, and he changed to the.
But he was still the Hulk because at the end of
I'm saying
Ragnarok,
between-
when
I'm saying
everything's
between
going on, he's
end
still
of
Hulk.
Ragnarok and when we see him in this movie, it was like 20 minutes. He went back to Bruce Banner.
So like 14 seconds.
Bruce Banner, well, Thanos is doing that first speech at the beginning and talking to Loki, and then Loki cues him up, and then he's like, "Here's showtime," and then that's when the Hulk comes out. When he gets called his name, he pulls out
But he couldn't do it later in the movie.
Well, no, because then he gets his ass beat and doesn't want to come out. He's scared at
Right.
the holes. Yeah,
And he's a child because
exactly. Yeah,
because
that's
he's
one
2
thing
years old.
That was one thing I didn't think about till I saw like another review today. Was like, oh yeah, he has like a he's
Yeah,
like a,
well, the Hulk was a child, right? He's
yeah, and
aged
so he's
because
had-
he's
this
been
is
out
the first
more,
time
right?
This kid got beat up. Now he's scared, and I'm like, oh, I get that. I make that connection.
Yeah.
I get it.
But the Hulk also has unending
Well,
strength
we don't know,
because when he gets
we don't
pissed
know that
off,
he knows that,
but he's
you know what I mean?
scared.
That's a comic book rule that we've applied.
That's
to
fair,
him.
yeah.
That it's like, because in that logic, he should have never been able to get knocked out ever. You know what I mean? Like Hulkbuster should never been able to knock him out because he should
That's
just
true.
get more mad and mad and mad. But he'd get knocked out because we have to have limits on our superheroes. Like that's one thing I do like about in
guess,
the movies.
I
They
guess.
have
In
to give it a
movies,
limit,
yeah.
some limit because the comic books they're allowed to like be a little bit more. Like let him
Embellish, yeah.
Hulk smash an entire planet to dust. It's like, well, in a movie that's just it's just too much.
Planet
it's too
breaker.
much for a movie. It's just like it's just like why? It's almost like why do you need that much in this movie? Whereas in a comic book, it's a little bit more just. Yeah, kind
You
of.
can't beat
exactly,
it, just accept
but-
it. So my last two things are arm related. The first is how the hell did Black Dwarf get his arm back? I'm not familiar with him from the comics. I don't know if he has regenerative powers, but he straight up loses an
Are you
arm
talking about the big guy?
because
Okay,
Wong
I was like, I
throws.
don't know who this guy is.
Yeah,
The giant dwarf.
Wong throws him into the Arctic. Yeah, and then
Okay.
wait, the giant dwarf.
Yeah,
No,
that's
no,
why I
you're
was
thinking
like-
a different guy, Craig. Are you thinking
I
Peter
took
Dinklage?
I had no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's not who I'm talking about. Black Dwarf is the name of the
Okay.
big dumb
One of
guy
Thanos'
who fights them in
children.
New York.
Thank you for clarification.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
wasn't sure about at first. 'cause
Shows
I
you
heard.
how
There we
much
go.
I know, eh?
Yeah, I didn't know his name.
He gets dropped into like the Arctic or
Yeah.
somewhere with lots of snow, and then jumps up, and Wong's like, haha, boom, and
Yeah.
and hacks his arm off. And yet, when you
back,
see him later in the movie, totally organic arm. It's not robotic. It's like they don't even slightly touch on it. Like, give him a robotic arm or something, so I'm not noticing like organic arm.
Magic. I'm just going magic because the one dude. Well, there was the alien wizard,
like-
so he could have done magic.
But they never hooked back up. Which also begs the question: how the hell did they get him off Earth?
Who picked which
Who
one?
picked him up? Who
Well, there
picked
was
up
more than
Black
one
Dwarf?
ship.
Because he didn't
I feel
go
like
with
they implied that there
Ebony
was
Maw.
more than one ship. Yeah.
Well, there
so
was
part of
two.
The second ship. He got picked up by the second ship because the second ship was off attacking Vision, right?
Yeah. He lost an arm. You'd think he would be bleeding
We
out
don't know
or
how
something.
alien physiology works. Comic book
That's
science
true. That's
again.
true. But anyways, he loses an arm, and then he has a totally natural
Comic
arm
science.
later on.
Yeah.
Makes no sense to me. Maybe they have the cradle
possible.
from Age of Ultron. They have that in
The cradle
space.
From Riddick.
But
No, not Riddick. Was Riddick the movie I'm thinking
maybe.
of?
No,
Elysium.
you're thinking
Okay, that's
Elysium.
the
You're thinking
one.
Elysium, where they yeah.
Thank you.
But my other thing is, once again, Thor should never
Yeah.
cover his arms. I didn't like that he magically made sleeves once he
Yeah,
got Stormbreaker.
I am always disappointed.
Would've been more
when you get
badass
sleeves on, 'cause
without
it's
the
like,
sleeves.
Why? You're far more intimidating without sleeves.
Especially since his arms weren't that big
Yeah.
in like the first Thor movie and the first
Yeah, he
Avengers
wasn't
movie. They weren't
like
that.
extreme,
He wasn't
yeah,
that
yeah.
ripped.
He's more.
Like he
He was
was
more
he was
swimmer
big
body,
frame
yeah,
and
but
muscular
now
enough.
he's-
Yeah.
Now he's
but now
actual
he's
Thor.
jacked. Why would you put sleeves on that? Especially because like it looked okay with the longer hair. Because
Yeah.
you're like, oh, he's a pretty boy.
Gotta
He's
have
Point
sleeves.
Break. But now that he's got the shorter hair and the big beard, and he's
I
badass.
think,
like,
yeah.
why?
I
Show me his
feel
arms, man.
Like they maybe just went a little lazy. I agree. Like I don't know why they stuck sleeves on him. Maybe it's just as an homage to the comics or something.
Maybe
but
just
I'm
a
not sure. Just
yeah. I don't know.
Well,
I
maybe
preferred him
it's
short
to
hair,
show
no
that
sleeves.
he did
like,
that again. You know what I mean? Maybe it showed that he had that power to do that again because he used to.
I guess so.
Yeah.
He can't control the Bifrost. He went back to his burnt out bedroom on Asgard, and he's like, "Oh, sweet, I got
Well, no.
one left.
He
Put
was-
it on. See
he
you,
was able to
Surtur.
Make that.
Bye,
I don't know if
Yondu."
you remember in the first of. is it
Yeah.
The first Avengers? No, it's in Thor. So the first Thor movie.
Yeah, where he gets it, and
yeah,
then it
so
like
I'm guessing
it
that
comes
they did
around
that
him,
as
right?
a way of homaging to, like, the fact that A, it's
Yeah.
done it before, and B, that this new hammer has that power, or this new axe has that same kind of power. I would have
I
liked
guess
if it
so.
was slightly different, because it would have been cool if it's like, oh, this is the armor that comes with this weapon. You know what I mean? Like, it's slightly different. No sleeves. Hint, hint, guys.
Yeah.
Hint, hint.
See, I just want to see the future, what he turns Stormbreaker into, because he turned Mjolnir
Yeah,
into an
which I
umbrella
really
in
enjoyed.
Ragnarok. I'd like to see him turn Stormbreaker
Something
into
along
like a
those lines,
cane
yeah. What
or
else could it be?
something. Like
Yeah,
like
just a full
Gandalf's
staff.
walking stick.
That'd be cool. A sickle,
His
just a
staff.
straight sickle with it. Pretends to be a farmer.
Yep. A shillelagh. I would love a
Imagine he went
shillelagh. Actually,
guitar
I
just
stand
to
by
go
that.
Full rock star. So whips it around and then does like
Total
a
Point
does a
Break,
riff
yeah.
and then it turns into the hammer. That'd actually be really cool.
Like Gene and his banjo impersonation from Bob's Burgers, where he's got the little
Yeah,
guitar.
but like if you like as he struck it, then that's how it turned. Because you know how, like he had to like slam
He strikes and,
then it
and
turns
lightning
into the-
strikes
yeah,
down,
and
and
becomes
then
the
he
hammer,
becomes Thor.
or the axe. Yeah,
To the axe.
exactly.
Because he's got to
That'd
hold
be
it
a
like
pretty
this
cool thing to
anyway.
see. Now I really want them to do that.
I'll do you.
How are you gonna beat that?
I'll do you one better. Why is Gamora? There we go. And that ends all my
I
points.
didn't really have any points written down. I just have written a bunch of different like stuff that happened in the movie, which we covered most of.
Okay.
Let's see if there's anything I thought we missed. Oh, I like Iron Spider.
Iron
was
Spider
cool.
was
I thought-
dope.
Yeah,
I
you
forgot to
didn't get
mention
much
that.
time on
Yeah.
screen. I like the way they did utilize that.
No.
What else was?
Personally, I like the comic Iron Spider where it was just the red and the gold without the blue. I like that version a little better suit wise, but I do know that they need to
Yeah.
keep the blue involved.
It would have
Otherwise,
been
it would have been too
I
Iron
agree,
Man-y.
Yeah, because it did have a very Iron Man-esque kind of like red tint. The red was a little too similar to
Yeah.
Iron Man red. Yeah,
Yeah,
which I
that
get because it's that
crimson, yeah.
metallic
Yeah,
kind of red, and so but
yeah,
exactly
like a
right. So,
blood
but
red. Yeah,
It was still good. I agree with that. I'm just looking at my list of what else I wrote down. I liked all the team ups. That was one thing I liked. Like we've talked about them individually, but I just
Yeah.
enjoyed the way they paired it. Yeah.
where they
Which
break into
I really
different
enjoyed that, and
factions.
especially
Yeah,
the way they decided each one, right? Like Thor and Rocket with and Groot together. I thought that was good pairings. I liked seeing Captain America and Black, then etc. But I just really liked the way they had all divided up. There was good dynamics between everybody. I really liked that battle at the end. As kind of cliche as it almost is. Again, another big faceless army for all the Avengers to fight. Like it's the third Avengers film with the
Yeah.
faceless alien army fighting them, or well, it wasn't aliens in the second one, it was robots, but still that they just get to just
Yeah.
all use their powers on, which I really liked.
they're
Exactly.
they're told what they're
So
doing,
you can justify
and then you just gotta
killing
whoop their
them
ass.
all, which I really liked. I feel Wakanda
Yeah,
is definitely have to invest in some insurance. The shit's getting blown up all the time, way too often.
way too often for a country that wasn't
now
known
in two
about until
movies,
2
they've
years
had
ago.
2 battles go on. But that I just really enjoyed that scene in general. I really like the way it all ends off with Thanos coming for the last stone at the end and just wrecking each of them. I do like that little moment of hesitation we
Yeah.
all saw in the comic books not the comics, in the trailer of, him grabbing the Thanos's gauntlet, and I like that little struggle.
Cap,
So
yeah.
I like the little emphasis on that scene.
See, I took it as it wasn't really a struggle. It was like Thanos went to crush him and
Caught
Cap
off guard,
tried,
that's
and he's
what I mean,
kind of
yeah.
like,
Not a
oh
struggle,
shit, this
but-
guy. I don't even mean caught off guard. I think it was like he's just like, oh, he's trying. Okay.
I took it as a little
Like, 'cause I was talking to someone about it, and he's like-
I get not like I see it as like Thanos was going through at 50%, and then he went to go at
Yeah.
and that's what Cap caught was that 50% of his strength, and then he put a little bit more. He's like, I wonder how strong
Yeah.
this guy is. He tested how strong, he was like curious. And he's like, "Oh, this guy's pretty
Yeah.
strong." That's the thought I had. Like, it's similar to yours, just
See, I talked to someone who's like, no, he totally put all of it into it, and Cap was, he put all his art into stopping him, and like if Thanos didn't have that other arm, Cap could take it,
No,
and
I
I was
don't see
like,
that.
no, like Cap's actual powers are just like the maximum peak that a
exactly.
human can
Yeah, I
have.
agree with that.
That's Cap. He doesn't have like neck.
If he
He's
was
not
the same
super
strength
strong.
level
Like
as Thanos,
he's just
he wouldn't have got knocked out in
Yeah.
one punch. Like Thanos would have been able to turn
Yeah.
around one punch
Yeah.
because he would have
Like-
met Thanos' arm with one arm, so that he had a free arm. It took 2 arms
Yeah.
for a reason.
It would have been the same as the
Yeah.
Hulk and
Oh, I-
Thanos. It would have been
Exactly, yeah.
Thanos and Cap. Like that guy, I was like, you need to go sit in a corner
Yeah,
and think about what you did.
I agree. I thought that was a little, but I still enjoyed that. I like the way he kind of. I thought it was interesting, the fact that we're both talking about it and have our different perspectives. That's what I really enjoyed
Yeah.
a lot about this film, is that there's so many different things that everyone can kind of decide on their own theories for. Because some people are like, oh, this isn't a complete story because you don't get backgrounds for a bunch of these different characters, and it kind of just ends with this ending of like a bunch of everybody dying. And I'm like, well, you're deciding that that's not how this is just done, right? Like we're all
Well, that's Doctor Strange was the same way. We have zero backstory for anyone outside of Doctor Strange, and even then, it's not even really backstory.
Exactly.
It picks up at a point and then just takes you somewhere. You don't know what his
Yeah,
life was
that's-
like before that. They totally omit the fact that like he kills his sister on the operating table, and that's why he becomes so dark and becomes such a good surgeon because he has no connection to anything anymore.
Yeah,
They don't
that's what
talk about that at
So,
all.
like, some
That's
people
not
are really
that's
upset
not
about
in
that,
it.
but I'm like, this
So
is
like,
it was 18 movies leading up to this one movie. I'm sorry you had to do some background.
Yeah.
Like, that's like, to me, it's like,
I'm sorry you had to watch a
well, to
couple
me, it's like,
movies and
did
enjoy
you
yourself.
watch a season finale of a TV show without watching the whole season first? Like no.
Yeah.
Well, some people do, but it's like,
Only Kroll Show.
Not even.
Only
I
Kroll
have
Show.
to watch all of Kroll Show.
but then being confused about the context of certain things in that season finale is just like, well, no, you missed. It's because you didn't watch any of it. So it's like that part's where I resist a little bit of some like the critics' reactions to this, because I love this movie.
That's where you
I
want to
enjoyed it
smack
way
a son
too
of a
much.
bitch.
It was just the best.
Oh yeah, it was
And
fantastic.
I love that they
stand
just
by
ended
that.
it with the fact that they're all dead and Thanos just goes and retires. Like, and that's how they left it. And no like hints to like what might. Well, like, a little hint in the post-credit scene of how it might get fixed, but nothing like definite. Like, oh, this is exactly how it's going to be fixed. It's kind of like, oh, it's up in the air. We all have to speculate for a year until it comes out again.
Well, that
Yeah. See, I'm curious if it's like if they're dead, like just individuals are dead, or if it's like if one person was erased and there's a chain of events, like if let's say husband and wife and they got two kids and wifey disappears, both kids disappear because she was taken out of the equation. I'm interested to see if that's the point they
That's
made, or if it's just
overly
like random
complicated.
people die.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be way too complicated to like try and trace back.
because
Like,
then
oh,
like if
that
you
means
kill,
all
like,
kids-
Yeah.
like a grandparent, then you start to remove all kinds of people.
yeah,
and
because then it's
before
more
you
than
know it, you've
50%
got
at that
no
point.
people
Yeah.
left.
That's fair. Yeah.
But what I want to know
That's
is, do you
fair.
guys think they're fully dead, or is it possible that they're gonna pull like a alternate dimension
I
kind
was
of, or
thinking
alternate universe?
I was
Universe
thinking
type thing?
alternate dimension. They just kind of shifted.
That makes sense because just because the set photos
Yeah.
that they've shown so far for the next one take place it's like back in time, like it's first Avengers
Yeah,
time
that's-
period
I've-
from what it looks like
That's.
from the set
I think some of those
photos.
set
So
photos are fake photos, to be honest. I think those are legit from the first Avengers movie, and some people are just trying to but I'm not 100% sure about that.
Possibly.
'Cause I think I've seen the similar ones to you,
Yeah.
that you did. But what I like to the idea
Yeah.
is the fact that it's because it's only the original ones left. Like, pretty much all the ones that survived, or all the ones that we don't know for sure have movies coming out. It's like, oh, they're all
Yeah.
up in the air. Whereas all the ones that died 100% have movies coming out. Like Spider-Man already has like
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2 on the docket, so we know Spider-Man's somehow coming back. But I
Yeah.
like the idea of it maybe being like, oh no, they're dead. Now we're gonna go follow some alternate dimension ones, or something like that. You know what I mean? Or they all got transported to another dimension because you can't actually kill everybody because they all got souls. They gotta go
Yeah.
somewhere. So like,
I don't know who owns Namor, but they somehow end up in like Atlantis, and Namor's like, Thanos is
Again?
here, isn't he?
Fuck.
God damn it, son of a bitch.
so
Son
give
of
me
a beat.
second,
Let's
you
go
just
do
pick-
this.
I don't know enough about Namor to get any more details from that, to be honest.
Yeah, no, he's.
I
I,
was
know
about to
he
start
looks like a
making some
dark elf
Aquaman
that lives
references, be
underwater.
Like, I gotta go get my what's the fork thing? Trident. I always forget what a
The
trident.
trident. Trident.
But yes,
But on that note, is Footloose still the
was.
greatest movie ever made?
But Kevin Bacon's pretty awesome.
I said the look like. Yeah.
are you talking about Footloose?
Kind of an Earth's Mightiest Heroes thing. Like Kevin Bacon. I haven't been there in a while. He might be on the team.
Those were all my favorite kind of lines. Like how they were, like all the jokes around like Thor or Thor's jokes were just my favorite.
feel
like even when Star-Lord shows up and meets Iron Man for the first time and he refers back to Thor, he's like the not so good looking guy. He's like, Drax like, what are you talking about? He's like, God.
Wait. Yeah,
Yeah, it's so.
because he was beautiful. Well, even Gamora, where she's
it's
like
made of
stroking his
something.
muscles, like looks like his arms are made
Yeah.
out of this some type of metal.
Which I thought was a
Stop
way of
stroking his
kind of
arm.
implying that he's not just, he isn't. Yeah, well,
He's
no,
sup-
I was.
he's
I meant,
super
like,
insecure. I feel like he's more human now that his god
See, I was
half
gonna
is
say
dead.
the
Like
opposite thing. I was saying that
he's got
Gamora
those.
and everyone gawking over them gives us the idea that he is even more powerful. Like, he is just a being, even though we see him as just a human form. Like, in outer space, they all see the Asgardians as these like crazy, like evolved and hyper, like, because exactly, gods among men kind of thing, or gods among the universe. And that's what I felt her, like, especially Gamora's line where, like, oh, his muscles look like they're made out of something. I'm like, oh, that kind of implies how durable he is, right? Like, even more so than Drax may be, in a sense, right? Because he does go through a lot.
Oh, I was talking about Quill. Like, I was talking about how, like, maybe, like, after, he is just totally a dude now. Like,
okay.
he's lost his god half.
I thought you meant Thor was really half god.
His
oh yeah.
No, his celestial half. I meant Quill. Like, he lost that, so maybe, like, because he's lost that extra bit, his arrogance dropped down a bit, and he's way more insecure.
Maybe it's also because he hasn't been working out enough.
Like, he went from cockiness to he hasn't worked out in a bit.
Sometimes I feel that way.
Well, he's one sandwich away from being fat. But are we gonna rank our MCU beards?
Maybe we should say that for another time. Yeah, I gotta double
save
check
that for
all
next
their
week.
pictures.
I haven't actually
We also
had
should
time to think about it,
Yeah,
and
we
you
should
guys
brief
totally
him on it.
blindsided me with that.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
telling me it's coming would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Craig,
Again, these
what's your ranking
Surprise!
for MCU beards? Mine.
Man, I worked hard on my list.
I didn't get to the list yet. I figured
Damn.
we'll get to it
You
sometime.
guys need to have conversations in the group chat.
Nope.
See,
well, we
and I
were
can say
sitting
that
side
back to
by
you guys
side
about
at the
what
movie
you guys
theater.
watch every week, which is my way of transitioning to
We
the
do
next
that
segment.
Speaking of which, WWWTW. Craig, what did you watch this week? Tell me what
Okay,
I
so
watched this
You
week.
must have watched Kid Gorgeous again. Like, you see?
Of course, you guys.
I did. Check on that one.
5-minute recap on your recap from last week about this.
No.
It's just
checking.
awesome, so I had
No.
to watch it again.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because it's so funny, and you gotta stop the Nazis.
Say more right now.
You gotta stop the Nazis. I was over there on that bench.
Yeah, I
Swear I'll get
was
to it
over there on the bench.
eventually, guys. I will eventually.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
hope so.
it was a really light
hope
week.
so.
So
So
I
what's-
watched Kid Gorgeous again.
Yeah.
I watched the newest episode of Mike Tyson Mysteries.
Nice.
Yep.
And as everyone knows, Mike Tyson's known for three things. He's known for boxing, solving mysteries,
Boxing,
and being a bitch.
solving mysteries, and being a bitch.
It was probably my favorite episode of this season. Well, it's hard to say, but at least recently, in recent memory, that's one of my favorite episodes, just because it's continually funny. It just
Oh yeah, it's definitely better than the previous one where Marcus gets his one go back, where he gets to go back in time to
that's
whenever
a
he
weak
wants
episode.
to do whatever he
Carol was
wants.
Really good.
Except for Carol was nice, especially because it carried over at the
Yes.
beginning of the
It's
next
the only time,
episode.
too. I liked Carol.
Yeah.
And this the Newport Beach bitches was that's a really good episode, just because it just keeps going and going and going, and then the twist at the end is just like,
Yeah. You can't have a Newport Beach without having a Newport bitch.
every beach town has a bitch in a gown, and I'm that bitch.
I forget what
It's,
what the third one is, Kimber, but she's so dumb.
No, that was I'm pretty sure that
She's
one of them.
No, she says something Kimber, she says something decent. She's like, "Oh,
Yeah,
and I'm a
right.
bitch."
And there's the
Like,
one
she
where
forgot
there's,
to add
there's
it.
No I in team, but there is in bitch, and there's one. I
Yeah.
can't even remember what her name is. Oh,
Bitch.
Christy. But there is in Christy, and it's the same I.
Christy,
'cause
yeah.
I'm a bitch.
Same way. Yeah, a bitch.
It's just, it's so dumb, but it's so funny. And so yeah,
It's so legitimate too. Like, I feel like there's multiple shows out there that follow that exact
that's the
same
point of the
formula.
spoof, I think. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah. You're on Mike Tyson Mysteries. What?
What?
And they just go with it.
And then I
Yeah,
just
exactly. It
what?
was a total publicity thing. And then they're like, man, they make this big deal about it and they don't even show up. Oh, I forgot to tell them.
I forgot to tell them. Calls them up.
They're on their way. And then
I like that the maid was
Yes.
also a bitch.
Yes, she slaps the.
I may be a maid, but I'm also a bitch. Psh.
It's just it was really good. I watched the Joel McHale show with Joel McHale.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to that yet.
I did not
'cause
watch
was not
that.
home on Sunday.
It neither was until later, but I watched it.
I just
it was
forgot
good.
about it.
I don't really remember it all that well, but I'm sure it was funny.
His blend together, like they're funny, but they're not like that's super
yeah.
memorable always.
No, they just keep going back to the same things, like the same shows.
They're not
those
Mike
same few
Tyson.
reality shows. Well, because his
Yeah.
format is pretty kind of not limited, but it's kind of set. Like he's got a template,
Yep.
and we kind of falls into it week to week, which I enjoy because I watch for his his funniness. It's funny.
Exactly. And then the last thing that I watched, so the television show Arrested Development, season 5 comes out on the 29th of May, which
Yes.
I'm pretty excited for. And on their made-up holiday, Cinco de Cuatro, they dropped the 4th season of Arrested Development, which already existed, but it has received a lot of flack from the fans because of how it was organized, because it's really different from the first 3 seasons. The first 3 seasons are kind of like a whole family thing, and there's a lot of cutting in between the different things, and there's a lot of callbacks and stuff like that. But the 4th season, they did a lot of like each episode followed a different member of the family individually, and then all the stories kind of tied together.
Yeah.
And people didn't like that because it was a big departure from what they were doing before. So they've taken all of the footage and re-edited it to be more like the first 3 seasons. And I've been watching it so far, and it's really good. I watched season 4 once, and I was one of the people that didn't like it, so I haven't watched it in a while. And I didn't realize how many damn cameos are in it. It's just like every other scene, there's somebody you're like, oh, that's Seth Rogen and Kristen Wiig. And there's Alan Tudyk, and just over and over and over again with all these different people. So it's
That's good.
that's what I watched this week.
Nice. Well, I'll have to get to Arrested Development eventually. I remember watching that when the
It's-
very first season came out, and then I lost it somewhere along the way, and I have no
Yeah,
idea what
it's
time
one
I
of the
watched.
first shows in North America to have no laugh track.
Yeah, I do remember that about it.
And do well, and do well. That and The Office.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were the first 2 North American shows to have no laugh track, and they did well.
It's a really interesting
Um,
fact.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
things you learn from other podcasts.
Literally everything I know.
Learning.
Yep. Me too.
Podcasting is becoming
Yep,
a singularity.
everything is podcasts.
We're learning.
podcasts.
Podcats. Podcats.
Yes,
So my list of what I watched this week
obviously.
was Mike Tyson Mysteries, followed by Kid Gorgeous, followed by Infinity War, followed by Grey's Anatomy,
Were you agreeing with me, or you were agreeing
followed
with him?
by
It's a little bit of both, to be honest. I'm like, I agree with you, Craig, but I've watched every episode.
so
That's what I was
I
just
kind
saying.
of
I'm like,
agree with
Andrew
myself,
agrees,
and I agree with you,
but
Craig.
he's still watching it. I've still watched
With
it more
both
than
of
all
us.
of us put together.
Yeah. Yep. I'm committed to finishing it at this point. But the only other thing I watched was, Scott, you might know what this is, Mystic Knights of Tir na
No.
Nog. It was a show that was on when we were
Right on.
kids, kind of like Power Rangers, but they were knights. I believe it's Ireland
That
they
sounds
take place
dope.
in.
Was it like YTV?
I have to Google
or
this now to-
Fox?
No, it was
Okay.
it was Fox, I
watched
believe,
Fox, so
and it was.
is it on before Beast Wars?
I can't remember if it takes. I can't remember if it takes place in Ireland or if it's just
it
filmed in
live action?
Ireland.
Oh, see, I was thinking like
yeah.
animated.
And it's about these knights. No, it's live action. It's about these knights, in this kingdom who harness the elemental powers, a
There's a
la
virtue.
Warriors of Virtue.
Wait, is this a European whitewashed Power Rangers and Warriors
Power
of
Rangers?
Virtue? Okay, I'm on board
Kind
with
of,
this. I'm
kind
on board
of.
with this. That's
So they're-
intriguing me. I'm very European.
So I forget. I can't remember their names off the top of my head,
Yeah.
but like the leader guy, he's
Yeah,
obviously
it's always
red
leader.
because red is the color of the
Psychological
leader.
reason.
And he's like, the fire within me, and he holds his sword up, and then he gets magical
Nice.
mystic armor, and it's badass.
So medieval
And
Power
then,
Rangers. I'm so bored for this already.
Yeah. And then like the princess of the land, she has a crossbow, and she goes out and holds a crossbow above her head, and she's like, the air above me,
Yeah.
and she gets badass armor. And
Is it
then
pink?
some
Pink
knight,
armor.
he's a
Okay,
badass.
good. That makes sense.
No, she's
That's
white.
good.
It's
Hate when
white
they get
armor.
girls pink
White
armor.
armor.
I'm just like, wait, pink is not
And then-
practical
no.
color whatsoever. What? It's not tactical at all.
No. And then you get this badass. You get another badass guy.
That's
He's got a
water.
trident /
assuming it's a
pitchfork,
trident.
but I think it's a trident. Yeah, he stands out in water, holds the trident up, and he's like, the water around me, and he's like,
That could've been a better
badass
line.
blue armor. And then you get number 4, and he struggles a little bit to find his armor. He's got like a flail / mace. And he says the earth beneath me, and he gets silver armor, and you're like, oh shit, and it's super badass, and it's on YouTube. I remember watching it when I was a kid, but then I just figured, I've watched some Mummies Alive, I've been watching some
We better consider
Mighty
that.
Ducks.
Nice.
Let's see if they got Mystic Knights,
that's
and they
awesome.
did. I haven't made it that far yet. I know at some point, I think it's season 2, they get a 5th one, and he's got like the power of the forest, and his armor's like a bronze color.
Okay, they could have done better, but all right.
But I can't.
Fair.
But I can't.
I know.
remember.
I'm just messing around.
Well, I mean, like a
know,
woody,
I know.
like it's like a woody bronze color, and it's so bad, but it's so good, and it's 100% filmed in
course.
Ireland, so I'm okay with that.
Right on. Oh,
But that's all I
right
watched
on.
this week.
Well, I didn't watch as much this week either because I came and visited Andrew and we went and saw Infinity War, which we've just spent an hour and a half talking
You're
about. So
welcome.
I don't really need to say anything. But one thing I
Yeah.
do have a little Infinity War connection was on S.H.I.E.L.D., which I watched this week, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They did do another Thanos reference, and they say his name. Some aliens refer to it and be like, yo, Thanos is kicking you guys' butts right now. And so I thought that was a pretty cool little reference, especially considering if they hadn't bumped ahead Infinity War, this episode would have lined up when the movie was originally supposed to come out. So it just would have been, I thought that was a little cool extra thing. So like, yeah, it's 2
Okay.
weeks after the movie's come out now that we're getting this Thanos reference, but I think it's kind of cool to think of the fact that it originally was supposed to line up with like the same weekend that Thanos that was hit in theaters, right? So I thought that was a cool little thing. So
Okay.
that's still keeping me on S.H.I.E.L.D. I really hope they bring it back for one more season at least, even though it's probably ending after this season. I think everyone's gonna die.
See, I'd like to see them say, hey, Thanos is kicking your butt, and then have Kyle Kinane be like, what? Who cares? Fuck this can!
Well, it's
And just
almost
throw it
like
over
that,
his
but not
shoulder.
quite.
Oh, that would have been better. Right, Craig?
But
Thank you for reacting positively to my
always-
Kyle Kinane
someone's
joke.
got to.
Dick.
Anyways, so I watched my normal week-to-week stuff, Arrow, Gotham, all that stuff. Legion, which is my new favorite show. Still awesome. You guys should watch it. I tagged at least Andrew in a video saying why he should watch Legion, and everyone else should check out that video as well. I'll link you all in it. Not really. I'm sorry. I don't know who you all are. But anyways, I also just watched the second season of Preacher, which I just have a couple more episodes left in. That's on Amazon Prime. I like Preacher. It's fun, kind of comic book. It's got the guy who plays Preacher is the guy who played Tony Stark's dad in the first Captain America, Dominic. I want to say Cooper or Copper, but I don't think that's right at all. But I just really enjoy the Preacher show. It kind of reminds me of Supernatural a little bit, just like an R-rated Supernatural, because it's all you know, gods and angels and stuff like that. And I always kind of find that stuff kind of fun. But they also, definitely, it's one of the executive producers is Seth Rogen, so you get his, raw.
Okay.
Just straight up his kind of bro humor, right? They even have, I wrote down, effing bro Jesus. Like, they have a little playback to Jesus, like, showing Jesus and how he made a baby at one point, and the whole time he's talking is like if Seth Rogen was talking. He's like, "Yeah, bro, man, dude, chill out, brah," and stuff like that. So he was like, "Brah, Jesus," and I'm just like, "Oh, that's such a Seth Rogen thing to do, like make Jesus just another brah." And that's with an R, guys. I mean, an AR, guys, just so everyone knows, and an H maybe sometimes, depends on how you decide to spell it. A bra. It's just, yeah. But I still like that show. I'm curious to see how the second season ends and if they're going to do a third or not. I also watched The World's End, which is a Simon Pegg movie, but if anybody wants to know about my stuff about that, there's a YouTube video about it that they can go watch. Yes.
Go watch it.
But the last thing
and
I
like
watched
and
was
comment,
just
please.
the Luke Cage Season 2 trailer. They had released a teaser a couple months ago, but they released a full trailer a couple days ago. And I'm excited for the second season. I'm curious where this goes, because I know nothing about Luke Cage's like comic book background, so I really enjoy the show just to learn about that background stuff that I don't have to go looking into myself. I just get to learn it from the show. So, and I'm always down for a new Marvel Netflix show because I could just binge watch them. It's nice and easy. I don't have to wait like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for an entire year. Yeah, exactly. So,
every week.
But that's all I watched this week because it was a short week for me. But that's, I think, the end then, right, guys?
That's the end.
Yes.
I do believe so. Tune in next week where we rank MCU beards.
That's all we're
No,
talking
that's it.
about.
It's a whole episode
That's
dedicated to beards.
We'll take up the whole episode, actually.
MCU facial hair.
Yep.
I think we can promise 20 minutes on Chadwick Boseman's mustache.
Beards. Oh,
Not
God, don't
today.
even get me
We're
started,
starting
man.
next
Half hour
week.
at least.
But thanks for
All right,
listening
let's
this
do
week,
that next
guys.
then.
Yes, thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Based off our name.